Over the last couple days, and on my trip yesterday, I had an opportunity to check out The Secret to Ultimate Weight Loss, a revolutionary approach to conquer cravings, overcome food addiction, and lose weight without going hungry. This book was written by Chef AJ with Glen Merzer. So I recently picked up the book, and by picked up, I mean downloaded the audiobook. I traveled a lot this week, so I was able to listen to the book. It's less than 6 hours, so it doesn't take up a lot of time. I really enjoyed the book. It was really nice to listen to somebody who's so invested with eating a whole food, plant-based, SOS free diet and isn't a doctor. They're actually a patient, or they're actually somebody who's changed their life by eating this way. So the book itself breaks down to about 50% of it is information and her secrets to ultimate weight loss. And then the other 50% of it is recipes. It says that it has over 100 mouthwatering recipes. The book really is great for people that are kind of just getting started with this diet or this way of eating, because it gives you kind of the concepts and the information you need to know about eating this way, but it also gives you a bunch of recipes to try out or to give, to get started eating a whole food plant-based diet. In the beginning of the book, she explains a lot about her history with food, obesity, eating disorders, and shares some very personal stories about her childhood. Getting to a healthy weight was not easy for her, and she still continues to have to deal with these struggles from her younger years. And I'm not going to reveal all of her secrets completely, but the key component to all of this, if you do enjoy my video, make sure that you click the like button. Also subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you'll get alerted when I go live. Calorie density. That's what a big part of this is. It's eating that below 600 calorie per pound foods, not the foods that are above 600 calories per pound. In the book, like I said, calorie density is a big part of this. She goes on to explain what her ultimate weight loss program is and how to use the concept of calorie density to get off those unwanted pounds. And the basics of her diet are very similar to my diet, low fat, whole foods, plant exclusive. She kind of further delves in, it's free of all processed foods, no sugar, including added sweeteners and 0-calorie sweeteners. All flour products are removed from the diet. Oils removed, salts removed, and alcohol is removed. So it's pretty much our diet, but that's kind of the basics of her diet, low fat, whole food, plant exclusive, no processed foods, no sugar, no flour, no oil, no salt, no alcohol. And in the book, she lists out kind of a few different concepts that help people stick to the diet or help you remember the basics of the diet. And one of those is her 7 C's to success. Some of those are pretty easy to guess, like commitment or consistency. But one of the big ones that I feel gets overlooked or is very important, especially eating this way, is community. Because eating this way is tough. For one, you're learning a completely different way of cooking, or you're learning how to cook things that are completely different than you used to cook. So finding a community that can help you find recipes or ways to cook this way can be very important and really be a key to succeeding with this. But also a big reason why community is so important is because this diet is so isolating. Other than Carrie, I don't know anybody who eats this way in my personal life. And so, like, I can't really go out to eat with a lot of people, or I can't do things, or I look like the weirdo at the table eating oranges that I brought in my pocket while everybody else is eating the bowls of pasta and meatballs and pie. So other than Carrie, nobody in my life eats this way. And everybody who knows me that doesn't eat this way thinks I'm crazy for eating this way. So for me, that the C of community is really important, because that is something that I think on any diet, you need a support network. You need people to help you get through these tough times. Having that community that you can fall back onto and say, hey, I'm having a hard time today. That is just something that, if you don't have that, it's so easy to grab those temptations and eat them. So, as well as the 7 C's to success that she discusses, she also has the Chef AJ's 10 commandments. And they're kind of, this is her rules to live by kind of thing. And they're, some of the things are simple things that most people can agree on, like thou shalt exercise, but one of my favorites is thou shalt not embellish my food with chemicals. I thought that was great, because that's really what you're doing when you're adding salt, oil, and sugar, is you're embellishing your food with these chemicals that aren't found in nature in the concentration that we have them just readily available through the salt shaker. Thou shalt not embellish my food with chemicals. Also, that would be like the 0-calorie sweeteners too. So there's this 7 C's to success. There's the AJ's 10 commandments. And then finally, a big part of the book, probably one of the places where she has more experience than most people, is how to eat healthfully anywhere. Because eating at home, you can control that. You can get rid of all the temptations. You can remove everything from the outside world and only allow foods that are diet compliant in your house. But when you have to travel, or when you have to go to meetings, or you have to go to family functions, that's where a lot of times the diets start to, the cracks start to appear in your diet. And Chef AJ, prior to COVID, she was on the road all of the time doing guest lectures and teaching people about this, and going to conferences and doing did speeches on cruises and things like that. Even with not being at home a lot, she was able to figure out how to eat a whole food, plant-based, SOS free diet. And that seems like an impossible task in some ways, but she talks a lot in this book about ways you can get through these times where it's going to be difficult. You have to recognize when these events are coming up, or when you're going to have these situations where you're eating outside of the house. And you have to kind of look at, are you going to be in control of the food that you're eating, or are you letting other people control that food that you're eating? When you're looking at a situation where other people are controlling the food that you're going to be eating, you have to find ways to either maybe wrestle back a little bit of that control. Maybe it's going to somebody's party and bringing your own dessert, or maybe it is having a chef make something special for you. You may have to fib a little bit and say, I'm allergic to oil, or I got something, I can't have salt, because it causes these issues. The other thing she talks about, which I thought was interesting, getting a mini fridge at a hotel. We recently went to a hotel that we anticipated that there was going to be a mini fridge, and then there wasn't a mini fridge. We made do without having that mini fridge, but it would have been nice to have. And she said that when she runs into that situation, she just lets the front desk know, hey, well, that's fine. I'm on some medication that has to be refrigerated, so I'm going to leave that medication with you guys, and I'll just come down, I'm gonna have to come down 3 or 4 times a day to get my medication out so I can have my medication. And once the front desk kind of realized the hassle was going to be to let this lady come in and go to their fridge in the back room, a mini fridge magically appeared in her room. If you're going out to restaurants, you can look at the menu ahead of time, see if there's any elements in other dishes that you can eat. We did that when we went out to a restaurant about a year ago. They had a meal that had asparagus as a side on the meal, but they didn't have asparagus listed on their menu. So you can look at other items and be like, oh, if they have asparagus for that fish meal, then that means they have asparagus in the back. Hey, can I get just a side of your steamed asparagus? kind of little ways to still get yourself some food or doing things a little bit more creative than you would have thought. You know, you have to get a little creative sometimes, right? And then at the end of the day, you can always choose not to eat. There is plenty of evidence of people being even at a healthy weight or being underweight and being able to survive 4 or 5 hours without eating. So if you get into a situation where there's nothing that's compliant, then maybe you just decide to go without. A lot of times you can make that easier by loading up and eating before you go to a restaurant or go to a place. And then it makes it a little bit easier to choose not to eat when you're there. One of the items that we want to implement from the books is the vegetables for breakfast. I've heard Chef AJ talk about this in the past, and I've even listened or seen guests on her show thank her for the idea. In this book, she talks a lot about how that is one of the biggest contributions that she has found to people's success is when they start having some non-starchy vegetables for breakfast. This kind of, from what I understood from the book, kind of came from the people she was helping. She was saying, hey, you guys need to eat 2-3 pounds of these vegetables. And they weren't able to eat that much if they only ate them for lunch and dinner. So they started to add them into their breakfast. And once they realized that they were eating these vegetables for breakfast, they noticed that their cravings for sweet things later in the day was reduced. Because if you start your day off with sugar or sweet things, then the whole day you're going to be trying to get sweet taste. That is a concept that we hadn't really adopted before, and we're going to try to find some ways to start eating vegetables for breakfast. The nice thing about that is that with this book, we got access to over 100 mouthwatering recipes. Many of those recipes are her vegetable for breakfast recipes. So that is kind of a review of The Secret to Ultimate Weight Loss, written by Chef AJ. It was really a quick book to get through. The actual text and reading portion of the book is only about 115 pages, so it's not going to take a ton of time to read it. And then there's another 100 plus pages of recipes there available for you. It wasn't a heavy read like a lot of the books that I've been reading recently have been. And it was great to hear about not only her experiences, but also of the people who she's been coaching over the years, because she's been eating this way for a little while now, and she's had very good success, and she's had a lot of her clients or customers who have had success as well. So if you get an opportunity to pick up The Secret to Ultimate Weight Loss by Chef AJ, I do recommend that you take the time to pick it up and read the book. If you haven't started your diet yet, what are you waiting for? Why haven't you started? You need to get started right now. Don't wait till after the weekend. Get into your cupboards, get rid of all the processed foods, get out to the grocery store, buy all those fresh fruits and fresh veggies, and fill your cupboards with bright, beautiful foods. But get started right now. Nobody gets to their goal. Nobody gets to the end of this whole thing and says, man, I should have waited.